thank you to everybody for the invite across to your conference and such an absolutely fantastic venue as well. We've been like kids on holiday, the amount of selfies we've taken over the last couple of days. Well, I was going to start off, first of all, by thanking this morning's speakers. It's been really interesting. The only downside is that I had some Kate and Leonardo jokes up my sleeves, but they've all gone now, so I'll just have to crack on with the presentation. So Lee said this morning in our opening remarks that today's conference is very much about not just, we're not just here to tell you that everything's wonderful in Scotland and everything's rosy in the garden, because it's absolutely not. There are, however, a number of excellent bits of work going on across Scotland that I've picked up in Northern Ireland as well, and I want to cover some of those this morning. I think that community safety in Scotland was audited just now, that even Brendan would have some positive things to say about it. So what I'll do is I'll go through a bit of a history and context, where we've been, where we are, and I'll give it kind of warts and all. What I'd really like to do is just generate some thinking and some debate. There's a question and answer session later on that I hope that people take the opportunity to, like this morning, just ask some challenging questions. We're not averse to that, and we're more than happy to open up to what has worked, what hasn't worked, and where we've learned from that and what we've done about it. So, for those people that might not be aware of the Scottish Community Safety Network, it's a national charitable organisation that's funded from Scottish Government money and members' money. And the principles of the Scottish Community Safety Network is very much about supporting practitioners and trying to be that conduit between national government and local government. Historically, where the Scottish Community Safety Network was pretty much picking up on national policy issues. You see, we looked at antisocial behaviour, hate crime, all the traditional type of community safety issues. We've evolved over the years to pick up on, be a much more evidence-based organisation. So a lot of the things, we spoke this morning about, crimes reducing, antisocial behaviour is reducing, but public perception perhaps isn't. And there are some other crimes in community safety issues which the trends are going in the wrong direction. So as a national body, we've tried to pick up on these issues and support local practitioners and national government to work towards those issues. So some of the challenges along the way in this is that, okay, I went the wrong way here, sorry. So one of the things I really liked this morning was that little interlude that picked up on the screen about some of the projects that are going on across Northern Ireland. And I think it's important that we do it in Scotland, and it's good to see we do it here as well, that we celebrate success. There's a lot of very, very good work going on across the country. Now, where the Scottish Community Safety Network is trying to use that more effectively is all these projects that are going on across Scotland, all the local projects are all pulled together by the Scottish Community Safety Network. So practitioners at a local level have that opportunity to see what's going on across the country. When things are emerging at a local level, if there's an issue around hate crime, if there's an issue around dog fouling, if there's an issue around youth disorder that we spoke about this morning, it's much easier to take a project off the shelf than it is to go away and develop something from scratch. And the Community Safety Network in Scotland tries to pull all that together as a point of contact for local community safety partnerships. And as an organisation, we develop briefing papers, we undertake training events for practitioners, and we host that good practice. We're also a key contact for the Scottish Government, for the Convention of Scottish Local Authorities, the Scottish Policing Authority, and the Building Safer Communities programme, the programme for government is changing in Scotland. And some of the evidence-based priorities, the strategic assessment across community safety in Scotland has thrown up a number of things which I don't think were particularly surprising, but things around unintentional injury is really coming to the fore. And what I'd like to talk about this morning is how we're taking that from a national issue down into delivery at a local level and some of the challenges we face along the way. For where the Scottish Community Safety Network also helps practitioners at a local level is it's the voice for local practitioners to be able to challenge the government in terms of national policy, challenge the government in some of the things that we face at a local level that are really difficult to overcome. And I heard some of the challenges this morning around the PCSPs in Northern Ireland that we can resonate with. It's the same kind of challenges, and hopefully we'll be able to present some of the things that we've done to try and take that forward. So that's at a national level. How that translates into local practice, I want to touch on as well. So through the development of national policy at government, through the work through the Scottish Community Safety Network, we can identify what the issues are from a national perspective. At a local level in Fife, how we take that forward, the construct is there's commonalities between what happens in Scotland and Northern Ireland, but very nuances that change the kind of dynamics that I really want to throw out to challenge the discussion today as well. So in Fife, our community safety partnership, and just to be clear here, that community safety partnerships in Scotland are not statutorily obliged to be in existence. And we'll talk more about how that's evolving into community planning partnerships and the legislation around that with Tim later on. But locally, what we have in Fife is a co-located premise which has police officers, fire officers, people from victim support, people from our third sector organisations, SACRO, and a number of council officials, in the region of 100 officers all working out of co-located premises. What that allows us to do is, on a daily basis, have a kind of evidence intelligence-led approach to what's happened the day before and who's best to respond to these type of issues. So not everything, historically things would always fall to the police who would ask partners to come and help them resolve things. But quite often now we have the ability on a daily basis to go and respond to things in real time, but identify the best officers to go and do that. So if a major incident happens in Fife, for example, there was a spate of armed robberies at post offices a few months back. Within an hour, we had joint patrols between police officers and our community wardens out at the locuses. One, to give that kind of high visibility, two, to give that kind of reassurance to the public, but three, to pick up the intelligence from the public as well. Quite often, as you'll be well aware, members of the public would rather speak to a council officer than a uniformed police officer. And the business benefits of having that approach in Fife has really given us a head start in terms of the kind of community engagement and community reassurance work that's critical to the work that we do. Some of the kind of more practical things that are going on in Fife and how the partnership works in Fife is a lot of discussion this morning, kind of going off piece now, because a lot of what I heard this morning really resonated with what the challenges that we've had over the past number of years. But one of the things that kept coming up consistently this morning is funding. Now, within Fife, the partnership within Fife was set up 10-15 years ago when we had ring-fence funding from the Scottish Government. That funding's been gone since 2007-2008 was the last year that we received any money from the Scottish Government. But the partnership in Fife has got more resources now than it ever has done. And that's because the partnership in Fife is very much predicated on culture and relationships and not from funding. All the partners, and we'll talk about the community planning aspect later on, the partners around the table are working towards shared outcomes. We've identified that. We know what we can contribute to these shared outcomes. And by identifying these shared outcomes and the business benefit of being co-located and having that collaborative approach, is that, I think Brendan touched on this earlier on this morning, that it's how other public services contribute to the bigger picture. It's not just the police, it's not just the council, but the resources combined through collaborative working can make an absolutely massive difference. Unintentional injury, unintentional harm in the home is an issue through a strategic assessment. That's one of our main priorities in Scotland just now. As the population becomes more elderly, becomes more independent at home, the number of falls in the home are going to go through the roof, or already are. Now, one of the pilots or one of the projects we undertook back in Fife that's embedded now is we only had 5 people that done home safety work. We've now trained 400 fire officers to do that home safety work. They're going into the same homes as the council officers, they're going into the same homes as the police officers. So there are another 400 people now doing home safety checks. The council officers are now doing basic home fire safety checks. We're getting those referrals in from NHS, we're getting referrals in from health visitors. The health visitors are doing joint visits with our fire officers, with our council officers, and through that collaboration, the outcomes that we're achieving are much better than what they were by working independently. Other things that we're doing is car safety seat checks. Again, another trend was that there were more and more young people being injured in RTAs. So the fire service and council are working together to do these car safety seat checks. Some of the work we're doing with the police are training standards. have tried to address bogus callers for a number of years. Through joint initiatives with the police, we're able to go out and do no cold call zones in different places across Fife as well. And it's just through that joint collaboration. It doesn't require funding, I guess, is the message. The message that we're putting across is that what happens at local level across Scotland is that these projects, these pilots, these initiatives, these mainstream bits of work are being undertaken from mainstream resources now. We don't need a funding pot to make them happen. So, I knew there was a slide missing here that's out of sync, so excuse me for a second. So that's all the nice stuff. That's all the stuff that's working. The challenges we've faced, where we're behind Northern Ireland is particularly in the single organisations for police and fire. Historically, going back 5 years, we had a Fife Constabulary. We have a single police service for Scotland now. The challenges in the first 3 years across that they were very challenging. Some of the things that happened, the local arrangements we had with divisional commanders at a local level were working really effectively. By bringing in a single organisation, a number of national priorities were taken over what was happening at a local level. And there's no hiding from that. It was a difficult couple of years in terms of policing. Community confidence dropped. There was less police in the beat. There was less visibility from police. There was a drop in partnership working for that first couple of years. But where we moved forward with that is the relationships, as I said, are predicated on cultures and relationship and shared outcomes. And whilst it would be very, very difficult to develop a partnership, a community safety partnership from scratch now, the ones that were already embedded, you found that through the shared outcomes, the police are back at the table to say we've got more resources now than we've ever had. But the culture's changed, the relationships changed, and now we're very outcome focused. Excuse me a sec. Excuse me. What we do have, however, and what I've certainly picked up from this morning in Northern Ireland, is that through the PCSPs and through the community safety structure in Scotland, whilst the infrastructure and the governance is different, the principles are the same. The framework's in place, the relationships are there, people are working together, shared outcomes, so there's no reason why the changing cultures and changing relationships should change or dilute the quality of the partnership working that's taking place. Where we do need to move forward, however, is whilst these relationships change and while resources are less and less as things move forward, we're finding that some of the outcomes, or we're not finding, it's very evident that a lot of the outcomes within community safety are very much aligned to the work that we're doing across community planning. What we haven't quite cracked yet, and just to be upfront, we haven't cracked the shared resources part. We know we've got shared outcomes. We don't yet have the shared resources. We're not getting some of the national organisations to the table to commit resources to local partnership working. We're getting it from the police, we're getting it from the fire service, we're not particularly getting it from some of the main beneficiaries of the work, such as the NHS. So the move towards community planning is the steps that we need to take in Scotland. Community plan has been in place for a number of years, and Tim's going to touch on this just shortly. But we have to move now from the community safety context. What does community safety mean at a local level now? There's less and less community safety partnerships, it's all becoming embedded in community planning partnerships. And we're having to evidence how we are making a difference. And I know that the next presentation that we're getting after Tim and myself is about outcome-based accountability. The work we're doing in Scotland is very much about local outcome improvement plans. So I'm not going to touch on that too much just now. So what I'll do is I'll just pass over to Tim to bring in the community planning context, and then we can open that up to question and answers from there.
Thanks, Mark. Is this back in sync now? day you were there. Celine, I just want you to note that Mark's been for 20 minutes there. He's left me about 3 minutes. Anyway, and thanks to Stephen McCall for coming to sit next to us. I was beginning to feel like those two old guys from the Muppet Show, Stapler and Waldorf, for those of you of a certain age. Yeah, so what I'd like to do is really pick up where Mark left off there. It's very much echoing some of the comments that Brendan Wigan made this morning in terms of the importance of taking community safety forward in this wider community planning context. Particularly the importance of this wider engagement through key services like education, health, and in particular community justice. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but over the past year we've been transitioning work on community justice, i.e. work to reduce offending and reoffending, from a number of community justice authorities to the 32 community planning partnerships. And I think that's a fantastic opportunity for community safety partnerships to really get in early and prevent young people from becoming involved in offending at an early stage, and also in terms of intervening when people have been through the criminal justice system as well. As Mark's alluded to, in Scotland over the last few years there's been a real convergence between the community safety and community planning fields. Work of the Mark's network, the Community Safety Network, and the Building Safer Communities programme is increasingly focused on asset-based approaches, prevention, co-production, and wider work to tackle poverty and inequality. However, at the same time, some of the national improvement programmes across community safety and community planning are, for the most part, poorly coordinated and often done in isolation, duplicating the work of a number of different programmes and networks. And I think that might be a useful lesson to take away today. At a national level, it's important that community planning and community safety aren't taken forward as in separate silos. I'll just give you a little bit of an update on where we are around the legislation around community planning, because again I think it provides a useful context for how we're going to take this work forward. In 2015, the new Community Empowerment Scotland Act was enacted, and this, for the first time, provides a very clear focus for community planning in Scotland, and that's based on strong shared leadership and meaningful engagement with communities. And the Act supported by detailed guidance. And in terms of the focus on outcomes, having spent 5 years working on the basis of single outcome agreements that covered the whole raft of outcomes across the national community planning priorities, the focus now is very much on community planning partnerships, identifying and focusing on a small number of key priority outcomes that CPPs can influence through collaboration. And it's that idea of having a much more focused and targeted approach that's a big difference through the new legislation. The Act also sets out a range of provisions that aim to enhance the role of local communities in planning and delivering local services, including, where appropriate, taking ownership of public sector assets. So it's that wider community empowerment agenda that's important, both for community planning and community safety. So in summary, all of these changes are focusing on an asset-based and a place-based approach. In terms of the new duties, we're required to produce a local outcome improvement plan by October of this year, so we're already busy doing that. And we're also undertaking a wider review of how the governance and the delivery arrangements for community planning can deliver real change. We've recently reviewed our key outcomes from the first 5 years of our current community plan. We're now on our second 10-year community plan. Essentially what we found was that we were at best tracking the Scottish performance in terms of the outcomes. Some in terms of community safety, for example, were tracking it well below the Scottish average. In other words, we're doing better than the Scottish average in terms of crime levels and community safety. In others, we're just tracking. So the key challenge for us now is how do we move that one extra step to making a real difference around areas like poverty, tackling inequality, and areas like community justice and reducing reoffending. The other key element of the new duties involves a requirement to focus on local and neighbourhood approaches, with CPPs being required to identify local areas that experience the poorest outcomes and to publish locality plans to improve these outcomes. So that's at a neighbourhood level, generally for areas with a population of less than 10,000. So in an area like Fife with a population of 380,000, we really need to focus on those areas that need targeted action. The new legislation also identifies a core group of public sector agencies to facilitate and oversee the work of CPPs. And again, this includes the key community safety partners, councils, police, fire and rescue, and the NHS. So the expectation isn't that councils do all this and that councils lead all this. There's a statutory requirement for all of these named partners to take a lead in community planning and also to commit resources to supporting the CPPs and to delivering the outcomes. And I think, again, that's a key point. And just to echo what Mark said, it's about what we can do through collaboration, through mainstream service provision. We don't have any ring-fence funding anymore. And in a lot of ways, I think that's helpful because it makes us focus on how we're prioritising our existing resources and improving outcomes through collaboration. I'll just finish by referring to some of the examples of place-based approaches. I don't have time to go into some of these examples in a huge amount of detail, but I would make the offer that if anybody wants to find out any more about any of these initiatives in Scotland, please get in touch with me, drop me an email. I would commend the Total Place and Total Neighbourhood approach in Edinburgh, the Thriving Places approach in Glasgow, and in particular, East Ayrshire Council's Vibrant Communities approach. And this is all about taking community engagement into local communities and turning council services and partner services on their head. So we start from local communities and build upwards. I'd also recommend that in any of the local place-based work that you do, I'd strongly recommend having a look at the place standard tool. We've been using that as part of our Fife-wide and local strategic assessments, and to give you a consistent snapshot of what communities feel about their local neighbourhood in a format that allows you to compare different communities across your area. The place standard is a fantastic tool, and I'd really recommend it. So anyway, to finish, I would just like to reiterate that I think it's vital that community safety partnerships play a key role in this new community-focused agenda. They can't be seen to be somehow operating out there to one side of community planning. And in Northern Ireland, as much as in Scotland, I'd lay down a challenge to both national and local community safety practitioners to embrace this wider agenda and play a key role in taking forward this place-based and asset-based approach. Thank you.